Hello again, football fans. Welcome to Friday Night Varsity Flashback. I'm Aaron Schoonmaker alongside sports editor Dan Spears. The final week of the regular season is upon us.
It's here. It's done. We know who's in. We know who's out. And it was another crazy night of football here in coastal North Carolina.
Absolutely. We got to most of the Mid-Eastern, both of the in-town games. We also got to Wallace Rose Hill as they look to make their bid for a perfect season. Let's get started with one of those Mid-Eastern games. We'll go to Ashley at Laney. Laney's sitting at 5-5 on the year, and they're looking to make a statement game at home on senior night.
Yeah, big night for them for Laney tonight.
I went to this game to start it off, and it was offense, 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 at least in the second half. They were a little camera shy when I first got there, but they did score on their opening drive on a big pass play from Mike Sheehan to Laquan Grady, covering 33 yards, got up to a quick 7-0 lead. The game turned a little sloppy right here. It would pick up in the second half, trust me. They exploded for 5 second-half touchdowns, Laney did. Kaiwan Keys ran 2 touchdowns, including a 55-yarder on the opening drive right out of the break. He finished with 184 yards on 16 carries. Rare week for Laney. They actually ran the ball more than they threw the ball, decidedly. Kind of mixed it up. Change of pace really came in good. Mike Sheehan even did his share on the ground. Added a 40-yard touchdown run, 72 yards on the day for him to go along with 13 of 18 passing. Still threw for 240. A couple of bright spots for Ashley not pictured. Logan Kaler had a 99-yard interception return for a touchdown late in the game. Chance Shepard connected with Zach Sweeney on a touchdown. And really with the final of this one, Laney might have played their way into a home game.
I'm pretty sure they did at this point. With them winning, they had a lot of the tiebreakers coming out of this game. They just needed to win. I think that's what everybody expected, right. Which meant that, and everybody expected New Bern to beat Rose, which right. meant that the winner of the Hoggard-Hanover game got the third and final playoff seed out of the conference, yeah. And the streak was sitting there coming into this game, and if you're a Wildcat fan, you kind of knew this was coming. Halftime, so it's a regular season finale at Hoggard, New Hanover at Hoggard. At halftime, Hoggard dedicated the track and its cross-country and track facility to Coach Wayne Rogers, more than 2 decades with the Vikings as their running coach. He's going to retire at the end of the season. Very nice thing for him. But this was a game of defense and hitting. This is what we said was going to happen coming in, and we were not let down. It was also a game where we said the injuries were going to matter, and they did. Bates Taylor did not play tonight for New Hanover, so Jason Murphy had to fill in there. His opposite number at quarterback, Christian Pavaromo, had a really nice start to this game, but then he got sandwich tackled by a pair of New Hanover guys, and that sent him to the bench for a while, which meant it was the Javon Jenwright show. And it's been the Javon Jenwright show for 3 weeks, and he did it again tonight. He carried the ball, he carried the offense, he made the pregame dinner. 42 carries, 161 yards, 2 touchdowns. That included a late score after a Billy Vaughn interception. Pretty much sealed this thing. Hoggard started this season 1-7. A 19-0 victory tonight means they're in the playoffs at 4-7. An amazing turnaround for Scott Braswell and his team. And for Kevin Motzinger in New Hanover, it's more heartbreak across town.
It's funny. Rachel George has not completely left us. She was texting me tonight as she saw the final of this one come in, and she says, this streak has gotten so out of control, we might as well name it.
I don't know, boy, but what do you name it? It's just, for one side, it's sheer elation, and for the other side, it's sheer pain. And
right.
It's just one of those. A month ago, we would have never said this was going to happen, and by the end of the night, you just almost saw it coming, unfortunately. So.
The other thing she said was, 2 of the last 3 years, Hanover might have had the better team. They just can't pull it out. They didn't again tonight. They'll still be going to the playoffs, Hoggard will as well.
Yeah, Hoggard's definitely in. Hanover's hoping for a wild card miracle at this point, which is got to be frustrating for them.
Definitely. A team that we know is going to be in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
Probably going to be that top seed. They're the AP #1 in your Class 1A, Wallace Rose Hill. Mm-hmm. They were at a tough rivalry game tonight against James Keenan. And James Keenan really came to play in this one. Out of the beginning of it, James Keenan defense forces a fumble, sets up the offense. They got out and score early in the second quarter, take a 7-0 lead here. And it looked like James Keenan was really playing well. They had another offensive possession again before that. It took Wallace Rose Hill until the 1-minute mark before they finally got on the board. It was a very nice pass right here from DeJuan McKenzie to Omar Carr, a 36-yard strike just before the half to tie it up at 7. From there, Wallace Rose Hill, their defense absolutely played phenomenal tonight.
Yep, took over this game, blocked a punt on the first possession of the second half, and that really turned the tide.
Absolutely. They got 2 touchdowns there in the third quarter, another one there in the fourth quarter. They went up 28-7 at that time. The final was 28-14. Wallace Rose Hill extends their perfect streak to 23 in a row, dating back to last year. Like we said, they're the number 1 in the 1A. They're going to stay there next week. They're going to get that top spot. How far can they go is now the question.
I think the East is theirs, really. They have shown that they are better than everybody else out here, and by convincing margins, really. I mean, it's them and Pender and Southwest Onslow, and everybody else is playing for gravy at that point. So.
And they've already shown that they can beat Southwest Onslow and Pender.
Yep,
so,
they've beaten both of those teams. They've got to have an advantage over everybody at this point.
barring a trip up, we might see them in that title game in Chapel Hill. A lot of games still to play before that, though. A lot of other games were played tonight as well. Let's get to the scoreboard right now. Dan, tell me a little something about some of the scores.
Sure. Okay, so like we said, Laney beats Ashley 38-14 to finish second in the Mideastern. Hoggard takes the third spot, 19-0 over New Hanover. As expected, New Bern beats Rose 31-7. They pulled away in the second half of that game. East Bladen tonight, great story in Elizabethtown. Lennon Fisher had the stadium named after him at East Bladen High, and then the Eagles went out and absolutely stomped North Brunswick 42-8. Whiteville, in a wild game that I picked the upset in, folks, that's right, held South Brunswick on a final play from the 12-yard line, knocked down a pass in the end zone to win 26-21. That puts Whiteville in the playoffs with 5 wins. Also in the Waccamaw, South Columbus finishes its perfect season, 42-19 over West Brunswick in a game that was delayed by lightning at the end of the third quarter. East Dupla, no problems with Croatan. They scored the first 7 touchdowns of that game, 56-7. South Lenoir, 28. Topsail, 19. That's going to be tough for the Pirates now to get in. That Whiteville win really makes it interesting because they get 5 wins versus Topsail's 4 wins. Those are both 2A schools. In 1A, Red Springs 26, West Columbus 0. East Columbus with a nice win going into the playoffs, 29-0 out South Robinson. The Gators returned 2 interceptions for touchdowns in this game tonight.
And that's a game that we mentioned a little bit on the previous show, that East Columbus, sitting on 3 wins, really needed to get something, if nothing else, to get some momentum. We figured they might have a chance to get in. We knew they were playing a 1-9 South Rob team coming in. This might really help them out. They could win a game, surprise somebody.
I was going to say, I think this really gives them some momentum turning it. We'll jump over to Tri-County now. Trask scored the first touchdown in this game, and then Pender got all the rest of them, 69-7. I think there was a little annoyance after being upset last week by Pender. They really took that one out on their county rival. Like we said, Wallace Rose Hill 28, James Keenan 14. Battle for second place in the Tri-County. Lakewood beats Union 14-13. And in the first round of the NCISAA playoffs, Harrells with a huge second half, 53-37 over Forsyth Country Day. They play, I believe, at Concord Assembly next week in the state semifinals.
That playoff's rolling on. We're going to get to all the big playoffs.
Yes, the big playoffs start tomorrow.
Season number 2.
Yes, everybody starts over. Check Star News Varsity tomorrow evening. Chuck Carey will break down all of the playoff games for all of our local teams. You'll be able to find brackets, schedules, anything you want, man.
Everything you want.
Yeah, all of it. So
well, it's fun.
Yep, go for it.
You're already on the site. Keep looking around. Look back Monday. Look back Wednesday when we grace the screen again, and come back Friday for round 1 of the playoffs. Check it out, guys.